the galaxy celebrated. Across nearly 12,000 inhabited worlds, fireworks erupted into alien skies. Ancient enemies embraced one another. Galactic news stations broadcast the same headline in every known language. Humanity has finally been erased. For nearly 2 centuries, the Terran Federation had been the greatest obstacle to the Dominion Alliance, a coalition of the galaxy's largest empires. Humans were stubborn, unpredictable, and impossible to intimidate. Whenever an empire demanded surrender, Earth answered with innovation. Whenever fleets surrounded their borders, humanity returned with stronger ships. That defiance had finally come to an end. At least, that was what everyone believed. The final battle over Earth's solar system had lasted 11 days. Millions of warships filled the void between Mars and Jupiter. Entire moons were shattered. Fleets burned like falling stars. The Dominion sacrificed more than 60,000 vessels to break Earth's defenses. Then came the final strike. The sun itself became a weapon. Using a forbidden stellar compression device, the Alliance forced Sol into a violent instability. A wave of unimaginable energy swept across the inner system. Mercury vanished. Venus became molten debris. Earth disappeared beneath a storm of stellar fire. Every Terran colony lost contact. Every human transmission went silent. The Galactic Council declared humanity extinct. For the first time in 200 years, the galaxy knew peace. Or so they thought. 30 years later, Captain Serac of the patrol cruiser Silent Claw drifted through the remains of what had once been human territory. The region was officially designated a forbidden graveyard. No civilian ships entered. No military fleet stayed longer than necessary. Sensors constantly malfunctioned there, and strange energy readings had never been explained. Most captains hated patrol duty. Serac hated it more than anyone. "Nothing but ghosts," muttered his navigator. Serac nodded. "Finish the scan. Then we're leaving." The sensor officer suddenly froze. "Captain, what is it?" "I'm detecting movement." Serac frowned. "Impossible." The officer swallowed. "No, not impossible. Worse." The bridge fell silent. A single signal appeared on the tactical display. One contact. Unknown origin. Unknown size. Unknown energy signature. It wasn't drifting. It was moving toward them. Magnify. The hologram expanded. Everyone stared. The object looked ancient. Its white armor was scarred by centuries of battle. Massive railguns lined its hull. Blue engine trails glowed like burning stars. Across its side, one word remained perfectly visible. Terra. The navigator whispered, "Human." Before anyone could speak again, the ship vanished. Not destroyed. Not cloaked. Gone. Every sensor failed simultaneously. Thousands of signals exploded across the display. 100. 1,000. The tactical officer's voice trembled. "Captain, I've never seen anything like this." The display continued filling. 2,000. 4,000. 7,000. 10,000. Exactly. 10,000 identical human warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Not damaged. Not abandoned. Fully operational. Every ship powered weapons simultaneously. Blue light illuminated the darkness. The patrol cruiser suddenly received a transmission. No encryption. No distortion. A calm human voice echoed through every speaker. "We apologize for our delay." A pause followed. Then came words that would shatter galactic history forever. "Humanity has returned." Silence swallowed the bridge of the Silent Claw. 10,000 Terran warships floated in flawless formation, stretching across the darkness like an endless wall of white steel. Their hulls gleamed with polished nanoceramic armor, scarred by old battles yet somehow more advanced than anything Captain Serac had ever seen. Their engines burned with brilliant sapphire blue light, illuminating the surrounding debris of humanity's long-forgotten worlds. Every sensor screamed warnings. Energy readings off the charts. Weapons locked. They could destroy us in less than a second. Captain Serac forced himself to stand. "Open a channel." The communications officer hesitated. They already have one. The same calm human voice returned. You have nothing to fear. Leave this system immediately. Serac frowned. If humanity survived, where have you been for 30 years? There was a brief pause before the answer came. Not 30. The bridge exchanged confused glances. For us, it has been 312 years. The words sent chills through everyone. 300 years? How could that be possible? Far away, aboard the flagship TFS Resolute, Admiral Elena Hayes stood before a panoramic viewport. Before her stretched the reborn Terran Armada, 10,000 warships, each larger, stronger, and deadlier than the vessel's humanity had lost its soul. Behind her, hundreds of officers monitored holographic battle maps. A young commander spoke quietly. Admiral, the galaxy believes we're extinct. Hayes nodded. They were supposed to. She touched the holographic image of the solar system. The stellar compression device didn't kill us. It tore open a gravitational rupture. The room remained silent. We were pulled beyond normal space. For the galaxy, 30 years passed. For us, centuries. During those centuries, humanity had not merely survived. It had evolved. Entire generations had lived aboard colossal mobile habitats hidden within the dimensional rift. Scientists unlocked physics once thought impossible. Shipyards the size of planets forged warships using self-repairing alloys. Artificial intelligences and human commanders worked together, creating fleets capable of fighting at the speed of thought. Humanity had transformed exile into opportunity. And they never forgot the day the galaxy celebrated their extinction. Back inside the galactic core, the Supreme Council was interrupted during a diplomatic summit. An officer burst into the chamber. Emergency! Council members turned in annoyance. This had better justify the interruption. The officer activated a hologram. 10,000 white warships appeared above the table. The room froze. One elder slowly stood. No! Impossible! Another counselor whispered, The Terrans? They're alive. Panic spread instantly. Verify the footage. It's confirmed. Where did they come from? No one knows. How many survivors? The officer swallowed. Unknown. But long-range scans indicate those 10,000 ships are only the advance fleet. Silence. Then another transmission arrived. Deep space observatories reported thousands of hyperspace anomalies opening across former Terran territory. Shipyards, defense stations, orbital fortresses. Entire human installations were appearing where empty space had existed for decades. It was as if humanity had rebuilt an empire overnight. Aboard the Resolute, Admiral Hayes watched the Council's emergency broadcast. They're afraid, her executive officer observed. They should be. Hayes folded her hands behind her back. We didn't return for revenge. The officers looked at her. We returned for justice. She turned toward the fleet. Transmit our declaration. Within seconds, every communication network in the galaxy went silent as one signal overpowered them all. Billions of beings stopped what they were doing. The image of Admiral Hayes appeared on every screen. Her voice was steady. For 30 years, you believed humanity was gone. You celebrated. You divided our worlds. You erased our history. She paused. You were wrong. Behind her, 10,000 Terran warships activated their engines in perfect unison. Blue light flooded the stars. This is Admiral Elena Hayes of the Terran Federation. We have returned. And this time, we will decide the future of the galaxy. The galaxy erupted into chaos. Within minutes of Admiral Elena Hayes' broadcast, emergency alerts echoed across thousands of worlds. Financial markets crashed. Civilian transports fled major trade routes. Defense fleets abandoned routine patrols and rushed toward strategic systems. For 30 years, every government had believed humanity was gone forever. Now the impossible had happened. The dead had returned. Inside the Grand Chamber of the Dominion Alliance, panic quickly gave way to anger. Supreme Chancellor Vorik slammed his fist against the council table. They're bluffing. Several admirals exchanged uncertain glances. One of them finally spoke. "Sir, our reconnaissance confirms the Terran fleet possesses technology we've never encountered." Vorik sneered. "They have only 10,000 ships. Our combined navy numbers nearly 200,000. Another officer hesitated before speaking. "That may not matter." The room turned toward him. He activated a holographic battle analysis. "Our long-range sensors estimate that each Terran battleship generates energy equal to an entire Alliance carrier group." Silence. The projection continued. "Their shields regenerate almost instantly. Their engines exceed our fastest drives. And they appear capable of firing while still inside hyperspace." A murmur spread through the chamber. That violated every known law of warfare. Vorik refused to believe it. No fleet is invincible. He stood, his voice filled with confidence. "If humanity wants war, we will finish what we started 30 years ago." The council erupted into applause. None of them noticed the fear hidden in their admiral's eyes. Meanwhile, aboard the TFS Resolute, Admiral Hayes studied a rotating hologram of the Dominion's borders. General Marcus Kane stepped beside her. "Our scouts intercepted Alliance orders." Hayes looked up. "They're mobilizing?" Kane nodded. "Every major fleet." Hayes smiled faintly. "Exactly as predicted." She tapped the map. "Remember our first lesson after the Exodus?" Kane answered immediately. "Never underestimate desperation." "Correct." She enlarged several enemy shipyards. "They believe numbers decide wars." Her finger moved to the Terran fleet. "We learned that knowledge decides civilizations." For more than 3 centuries inside the dimensional rift, humanity had focused on one goal. Never again would another species decide Earth's fate. Every scientist, engineer, and explorer had contributed to that mission. Their greatest achievement was not a weapon. It was an intelligence network that could predict enemy movements before orders were even issued. Every Dominion fleet was already being tracked. Every military command had already been mapped. The war had begun long before the first shot. On the industrial world of Karos Prime, workers suddenly looked toward the sky. Hundreds of Alliance warships protected the massive orbital shipyards above the planet. No one expected an attack. Then every warning siren activated at once. Unknown hyperspace signatures detected. Defense commanders rushed to their stations. "How many?" The sensor officer's voice shook. "They're everywhere." Space itself seemed to split open. Instead of a single jump point, thousands of shimmering blue fractures appeared across the system. From each emerged a gleaming white Terran warship. Not one. Not 10. Hundreds. They surrounded the Alliance fleet before anyone could react. The Dominion commanders smiled confidently. "Fire!" Thousands of plasma beams crossed the void. The Terran ships didn't dodge. They didn't need to. Brilliant blue shields absorbed every impact without weakening. Then the human fleet moved. No frantic maneuvers. No desperate charge. Every ship accelerated with impossible precision, gliding like a single living organism. Massive electromagnetic railguns fired. The first Alliance battleship vanished in a flash of white light. Another exploded seconds later. Then another. Within 3 minutes, the Dominion fleet lost over 400 ships. The humans lost none. Watching from the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Hayes remained calm. General Kane smiled. "The first battle is over." Hayes slowly shook her head. "No." She looked toward the stars. "The first lesson has only just begun." She opened a galaxy-wide communication channel. Her voice echoed across every military command center. "You celebrated humanity's extinction because you believed fear would unite you." A brief pause followed. "You were right. But you feared the wrong species." As her transmission ended, thousands of additional hyperspace portals ignited across the galaxy. The Alliance commanders stared in horror. The 10,000 warships they had feared were only the beginning. The Dominion Alliance had expected a war. What they had not expected was to lose control of the galaxy within 48 hours. Every hour brought another impossible report. A fortress world had surrendered without a fight. A battle fleet had vanished after engaging a single Terran task force. 3 major supply convoys had disappeared without leaving a distress signal. No one understood how the humans were moving so quickly. It was as if the Terran fleet could appear anywhere, at any time. Inside the Dominion Supreme Command, the atmosphere had changed completely. The confidence that had filled the chamber only 2 days earlier was gone. Supreme Chancellor Vorik stood before a massive holographic map. Red warning symbols covered almost every sector. Status report. An exhausted admiral stepped forward. We've lost contact with 23 defense stations. Our logistics network has collapsed. Fuel depots are being captured instead of destroyed. Vorik glared. Captured? Why aren't the humans annihilating everything? The admiral hesitated. Because they aren't targeting civilians. The room fell silent. Another officer added, they're disabling military infrastructure, evacuating civilian populations, and broadcasting humanitarian corridors before every attack. They're even sending medical ships to planets damaged during our own retreats. Vorik clenched his fists. They're trying to win the galaxy. No, the admiral replied quietly. They already are. Aboard the TFS Resolute, Admiral Elena Hayes stood inside the Fleet Memorial Hall. The walls were lined with the names of every human lost during the fall of Earth. Millions of names. Children. Scientists. Soldiers. Families. General Marcus Kane approached slowly. The Dominion is retreating from the outer sectors. Hayes nodded without taking her eyes off the memorial. They're afraid. They should be. Kane paused. Permission to launch Operation Ghost Fleet? For the first time, Hayes smiled. Approved. A massive holographic display lit up. Across hidden regions of space, ancient-looking stars suddenly flickered. They weren't stars. They were perfectly concealed Terran shipyards. For 3 centuries inside the dimensional rift, humanity had quietly constructed reserve fleets far beyond the edge of known space. Now those silent factories awakened. Colossal gates opened. Thousands of fresh warships emerged, their white hulls reflecting distant starlight. Titan-class carriers. Planetary siege cruisers. Escort destroyers. Medical fleets. Logistics vessels. Everything humanity would need, not merely to win a war, but to rebuild a civilization. One by one, the hidden fleets jumped into hyperspace. The number displayed on the strategic map climbed rapidly. 10,000, 12,500, 15,000, 18,000, 20,000 Terran warships. The Ghost Fleet had awakened. Far away on the neutral world of Erinder, billions watched the war unfold through live broadcasts. Many had feared humanity for generations. Now they saw something unexpected. Terran engineers restoring damaged power grids. Human doctors treating alien children injured during Dominion bombardments. Terran soldiers sharing food with refugees, regardless of species. An elderly alien reporter removed his headset and whispered, "We were taught that humans were monsters." He watched a Terran medic carry a frightened alien child to safety. We were lied to. Across countless worlds, public opinion shifted. For the first time in history, citizens began questioning the Dominion's version of the past. Who had truly started the war 30 years ago? Who had destroyed Earth? And who was trying to save innocent lives now? Deep within the Dominion capital, Chancellor Vorik received a classified transmission. His face turned pale as he read it. Our deepest intelligence vault has been breached. Impossible, he whispered. The officer swallowed hard. The humans didn't hack it. They opened it. What? They're using command codes, created before the war. Vorik staggered backward. That's impossible. Then another file appeared. Project Ashes. Authorization. Supreme Council. Status. Declassified by Terran Command. His hands trembled as he opened the document. Inside was the truth the Dominion had buried for 30 years. It proved that the destruction of Earth had never been an act of self-defense. It had been a carefully planned extermination. And now, humanity possessed every piece of evidence. Admiral Hayes' final transmission echoed across every military channel. You thought history had forgotten. It didn't. And tomorrow, the entire galaxy will learn the truth. The next morning, the galaxy did not awaken to another battle. It awakened to the truth. At exactly 9 o'clock Galactic Standard Time, every communication network, from military satellites to civilian broadcasts, was overridden by a single Terran transmission. No planet, no station, and no flagship could block the signal. Billions of beings watched as ancient classified recordings appeared on their screens. The first video showed the final emergency session of the Dominion Supreme Council 30 years earlier. Supreme Chancellor Vorik stood before the council chamber, declaring, "If humanity survives, they will one day surpass every civilization in this galaxy. We cannot defeat their future, so we must erase it." The recording continued. The stellar compression device, the weapon that destroyed Earth's solar system, had never been authorized as a defensive measure. It had been designed for one purpose: the complete extermination of the human species. Gasps echoed across homes, command centers, and planetary capitals. The Dominion had lied to the entire galaxy. For 30 years. Within hours, Allied governments began withdrawing from the Dominion alliance. Military commanders refused to obey new attack orders. Entire fleets lowered their weapons rather than fight beside those responsible for genocide. On dozens of worlds, citizens gathered in the streets, demanding justice instead of war. The Dominion, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, began collapsing from within. Its greatest weapon had never been defeated by human guns. It had been defeated by the truth. Aboard the TFS Resolute, Admiral Elena Hayes received one final report. Enemy flagship requesting unconditional surrender. General Marcus Kane smiled. "They're finished." Hayes remained silent for a long moment. Then she gave an order that surprised everyone on the bridge. "Accept their surrender." The officers looked at one another. No orbital bombardments. No revenge strikes. No civilian casualties. Kane raised an eyebrow. After everything they did? Hayes looked toward the stars where Earth had once existed. "If we become what they feared, then they win." The bridge fell silent. That single sentence reminded every Terran officer why humanity had survived. Not because they built stronger ships, because they refused to abandon their principles. Hours later, Chancellor Vorik stood alone inside the shattered council chamber. Outside, thousands of white Terran warships surrounded the capital, not firing, not threatening, simply waiting. A landing shuttle touched down. Instead of soldiers, one unarmed human officer entered the chamber. He placed a small metal case on the table. "What is this?" Vorik asked. The officer answered calmly. "Your trial." Inside the case were millions of documents, recordings, and testimonies, every crime committed during the extermination campaign against humanity. "There will be no executions," the officer said. "No secret prisons. The galaxy will judge you in the light of truth." For the first time in his life, Vorik had no command to give. Months later, the Galactic Assembly met once again. But this time, the empty seat once reserved for Earth was no longer vacant. Admiral Elena Hayes entered the chamber. Every representative stood. Not out of fear. Out of respect. A young delegate asked the question the entire galaxy wanted answered. After everything that happened, why did humanity return? Hayes smiled gently. Because the future belongs to those who build it, not those who destroy it. The chamber erupted in applause. Far beyond the assembly, 20,000 Terran warships stood watch over peaceful trade routes instead of battlefields. The fleet that had once returned from the shadows to seek justice had become the guardian of a new era. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. It had earned its trust. And from that day forward, whenever a new civilization reached the stars and asked who protected the peace, they always received the same answer. The humans, the species the galaxy once celebrated destroying, became the civilization that ensured no world would ever suffer the same fate again.